Hello, people. It's time. This is Tempest Tenebrarum, home of all things World of Darkness, Chronicles of Darkness, whatever. We're here every other Tuesday. Well, not quite every other. We do try to do every other Tuesday, but the last few weeks we've been doing quite a bit more. And our fan base seems to enjoy our little things when we pop up, you know, off time. So, joining us tonight, we are have us a full house plus some. Of course, we've got
What's up?
Bryan Perryman. Say hi, man.
What's up?
And we have FullMoonDeria. She's finally getting to be on the show instead of being on the sidelines. Hi, Daria.
Hi,
And
I'm
then
kind of I'm excited and nervous.
you're nervous, ain't got shit. You're fine. You'll be great. Trust me, you're gonna have big fun. Um, and of course, our last guest we had, like I said, we got us a full house tonight. So also we have with us Thomas. Say hi, Thomas.
Hi, Thomas.
I love having Thomas on. He is fun. And then of course my co-host, brother Key. Say hi.
What up? Hi.
You can say whatever the fuck you want. I just, it's just a suggestion.
I kind of did. I just wanted to have a polite introduction.
Of course. So tonight we've got a double header. We are doing both Chronicles of Darkness subjects. It happens very often. It doesn't happen very often if you've, listened to the show for a while. You don't get, we don't get throw a lot of love at Chronicles because some of their shit I got no time for. But I'm always happy to do a show about them, even if I don't have. I look at it as a learning experience. So tonight we got a double header: Promethean and Changeling the Lost. We've got some straight up experts in both of those subjects tonight. So we're going to be doing that, and everybody have fun. That's a fucking order.
Yeah. Okay, just because
Too
you
much
asked
pressure.
nicely.
So, Kide, you know how this works, man. You throw the first question, you can, and if it were me, I'd throw it at Daria because she hasn't been on the show yet.
All right, Daria, this one is from Changeling. I mentioned a little bit earlier before we started that I've never played either one of these. I have just been reading some about it. What would be the biggest difference between Changeling the Lost and Changeling the Dreaming?
Well, I actually haven't played Changeling the Dreaming because I got thrown right into Chronicles for my very first tabletop. But from what I was reading, it seems to be the difference is that rather than being exiled fairies that are living in the real world, the changelings and changeling lost are humans who were taken to the fairy realm and then later escaped, but were altered as a result of their stay there.
Oh, so it's just as happy as the other one, huh?
Yes.
No, that's come up during the show a lot. Is like Changeling in general is just the most fucking depressing thing possible.
So, whereas in Changeling the Dreaming, there were actual fairies kicked out from Arcadia and our world, Changing the Lost would be not fairies but humans that were kidnapped by the Fae, right?
Yes, and now
And
they've
transformed.
escaped and they've been twisted for whatever various purposes, and then they eventually escape back into the real world and basically have to try and pass as normal people if they can even get back into their original lives.
Um,
Oh,
that sounds very depressing.
I like it.
I like it.
My
It's
my
fun.
favorite aspect and most depressing part is when you're taken to avoid anyone noticing you're replaced with a copy of yourself that's either
Yep.
exactly the same or is better than you. And people like the copy better than you.
Ooh.
That's usually how
Yep.
it works.
Well, that's it. That's if the Fae can be even be bothered to take that little bit extra time to do it.
To make a copy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just don't care.
We call that completely out of fucks.
Yep.
Some fairies have never even heard of such a buck. Do not know what it is. Do not know why you give it or why you'd want it.
Okay. Here, who is our Promethean expert tonight?
Not me.
Not it.
Uh-oh.
Okay, then it's me.
All right. So, I mean, talk to me about the flesh golems. I'm not quite sure what they're trying to accomplish with this. When they wrote these limited run like this one, Promethean and Changeling and Hunter the Vigil and shit like that. Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah.
Geist the Sin Eater.
Oh, Geist the Sin Eaters. Yeah.
Promethean is very much the idea of, whereas I think the concept they want to go with, and it's very prevalent in a lot of World of Darkness, is that most World of Darkness creatures, you were a human, but then you are no longer human. And then it's your constant struggle to either reclaim that which made you human, to cling to some semblance of it, to hold on to that which makes you human. In Promethean, you were never human. You don't have memories of a past life that's yours. What you are is you're this creature of flesh and other parts that someone else put together in some profane experiment, and then your life as this creature is chasing the idea that maybe one day you can become human.
It's
It's like the
pronounced
world of
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. It's like Frankenstein or the World of Darkness version of Pinocchio. You want to be a real boy, but the problem is you have fantastic powers. The thing that gives you power, this divine fire, if humans catch a glimpse of it, react in like a few ways. They are driven mad and they are blinded, even burned up or destroyed, and some of them just go so crazy they light you on fire because you're an abomination and reality rejects you. So it is a lonely story of attempting to become human because everything about you is profane. And it is that constant pilgrimage and struggle towards humanity, something you've never had but desperately crave.
Oh, throwing a shout out at Scott. Thank you. Appreciate you showing up on time tonight. Just being late last time. I felt bad about it. You showed up just as we were signing off, and Scott's also one of our big supporters. We always appreciate having him here. Now we've got 7 folks in the channel, so somebody, if you got a question, throw it, dude, because we got all the motherfuckers tonight.
Yep.
We got all the answers.
Yep, hit us. But in the meantime, hey Sumi, you did have a one Promethean NPC, right?
I did. I did create a Promethean NPC for the Vampire Chronicle you were in.
Oh,
Yeah, the very, very first one.
Yep.
Yeah, oddly enough, as far as crossover is concerned, that would be one of those you could probably get away with.
they have a Promethean in the antagonist book, the first edition, named Doll. And what she was this bitter old lady that lost all her kids, was basically an empty nester, killed a bunch of neighborhood kids and sewed them all together to make the perfect child. But her hate and anger and rage like encompassed this thing that she made, and it was actually like a high ranking demon, and we were allowed to use it. We were given free reign to use Doll as an NPC when we were running Requiem in the Mind's Eye Shit-tastrophe Club, and
Sorry.
the Mind's Eye Shit Show, and like nobody was using her because nobody was reading the antagonist book. So I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna use her. Can I use her?" And the NST was like, "Fuck yeah!" So for like 2 years, I had my players just fighting Doll, and Doll was like killing their ghouls and making more dolls. Like,
Oh.
like these, but they were like clockworks. So I had these big like steam engine things running around and little steam engine things running around town. totally not breaking the Masquerade. While they would go out of their way to break the fucking Masquerade
Well,
to
it
kill
sounds
these
like a
things.
shimmishay thing, you know?
Well, yeah, but we didn't have those, so that's what I
Yeah.
used.
Yeah, that's sort of where I think some of the inspiration came from with the alchemists and them making Prometheans. It's very, very Shimase, Shimizi, however you wish to pronounce the clan whose curses they have no real pronunciation of their name.
Well, this.
Yeah,
Well,
I consider
I
it a gray
pronounced it
area.
worthless now with the new rules that came out. So,
Ouch.
no, right?
well, because they completely shit all over Vicissitude in the whatever the fuck the new LARP book is. They totally took away like everything that made Vicissitude worth a shit, and everything that made Obtenebration worth a shit. That made it worth playing fucking one of the two main Sabbat clans.
Well, it was like putting obfuscate in the toolbox for a Malkavian. That just didn't work for me.
No, they made it off with fucking dementation. It's gone. Now it's like a sub-level of domination.
Yeah.
I'm angry at that, and I was never like a particular fan of Malkavian. But anyway, we're talking about the other two.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
anywho, no, this thing doll sounds like a fucking war ghoul that just went way off the farm, you know, and just started making more war ghouls.
I have a question.
Shoot.
Since he brought it up, what's the difference between the Prometheans and the war ghouls?
So the main difference is a Promethean. So let's take an idea. I think that's actually a great question to sort of bridge the understanding as well. So where the difference is a Promethean, from all the different body parts it's accumulated or made of, it has fractures and fractals of memories of those people and experiences, but none of them are their own, and they know it. So imagine a war ghoul that's made of 15 different people, and it has the memories of 15 different people and the perspectives of 15 different people. Oh, and it can't really be controlled by its master.
Oh,
yuck.
You're playing that.
So they're actually sapient. They are conscious of what they are, and they are thinking beings, not
Yes,
like
they are.
thoughtless killing machines like the war ghouls
But
are.
do they have what is it called? A multiple personality disorder.
Nope, they're
Oh, shit.
one. So it's sort of like the memories are like a lucid dream. You remember, they help make up your character sheet. You have the skills of the people who make you up,
Ooh.
but none of them are your skills, and you know they're not. But you're good at these things because some deranged asshole stitched you together, shoved some divine fire in you as part of an experiment, and now here you are.
Told you it's pronounced Frankenstein.
It's kind of the same as Geist could. Go ahead.
Right.
No, he was just fucking with us. Keep going.
Yeah.
But yeah, Geist has a similar feel to it. The idea of you were human, you died, and then you made a deal with something otherworldly that brings you back, and now you're sort of two beings in one. You're sort of still your human self, but now you're more, and you're removed. And there's that thing of you kind of have to either break away from all your friends and family because they know you died, and suddenly you're back, and that's, well, not many people are going to accept that. Or it happens so fast, you're like pronounced dead, and then you wake up on the gurney, but then the separation happens, and you start to see ghosts, and you're part of basically these Geists, sin eater ghostbusters, and you have to keep that separate from your loved ones because your loved ones are going to get possessed and attacked. And yeah, and there's some great intermingling with Geist and Werewolf the Forsaken, because basically werewolves and the Sin Eaters both perform the same job of keeping spirits and ghosts in check, but they bump heads when it comes to territory.
Oh yeah, because werewolves are very territorial. Duh.
Yeah, the werewolves are like, this is our city block. We patrol the spirits here, and they're like, you didn't notice the old fucking hag ghost was eating people, so fuck you. This is our job.
Oh, our producer has arrived. Hi, New Wave.
New Wave.
Hello. But that's the great thing about Chronicles, whereas Old World originally was kind of, they're like, well, they're separate, but maybe in the same world, but separate. Chronicles started off in the beginning of, no, they all exist in the same world. How do we fit all these puzzle pieces together to allow for cross interaction? And then we're getting the Contagion Chronicle, which is literally
Yeah,
a crossover chronicle.
It seems
Gary said,
like
can't wait for Contagion.
it seems to me. Okay, listen. When I first brought this up back in the early days of the show, I got laughed at. Okay, I said there are certain splats that make great crossover, like fucking a Giovanni Chronicle with Wraiths in it,
Yep.
and I got
Hmm.
laughed at. I did. I got laughed at. Going, oh no,
Who
they
the
aren't
hell?
meant to be crossover. You can't do that. That's against the rules. I
What?
said, what rules? I said, page 96 of the Vampire Guide said, if you want to play, whatever you want to play, then play it. You know?
Yep.
Hey,
And now it seems like Chronicles was built, it actually had crossover built in
yep.
deliberately.
No, it did. Deliberately, it really did. And that's why I love the two splats we're talking about, because you can use any of them as just a solo campaign, or you can cross them over with a whole bunch of stuff that, like, Onyx Path has specifically put in to be like, this is a thread that leads to this splat, and this is a thread that leads to this splat, and then I take this giant thing of wires, which is the God Machine, and I just drop that in, and it splashes everywhere. And let's sprinkle in some Contagion, and poof, here you go.
By the way, Scott says he actually backed Contagion.
As did I, Scott. Good
Ah,
decision.
yeah. Okay. So Scott was confirming what I just said. They made it easier to do crossover
They really did.
with Chronicles as opposed to, and like I said, there are plenty of options even in World of Darkness that would make crossover makes a lot of fucking sense. Okay, for instance, Vampire and Mummy. Oh hell yeah!
Don't remind me of that.
Oh hell yeah! Some creature that's actually been is actually older than most vampires. You know, and
They
then
cannot be destroyed at all.
oh sorry.
But I mean,
So, and then okay, even vampire and mage that would work. Matter of fact, the most powerful NPC in the game is a Gould mage, but only until their avatar gets worn away by the tank. You know, then they can't do mid magic anymore, and then well, there's always that.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's switch over to Changeling a little bit now. Um, why why do you think that they wrote both these two splats as limited run games? What was the reasoning behind that, I wonder?
Well, I don't think Lost was much of a limited run because it lasted forever. They even wrote a second edition of it. Um, and there was a lot of books that came out for Lost, unlike Promethean. Like a lot of books.
yeah, there is a
And
lot of material for
yeah,
Lost.
So,
So
go ahead.
Changeling may have started as a limited run, but it exploded. It has books for each court. It has all sorts of fiction books, and it got its second edition relatively recently, and it's beautifully well done. Like, no, Changeling is one of their more popular Chronicles of Darkness brands, whereas Promethean,
Right.
you're right, was a limited run, and I think it's because the initial flop of Requiem made them nervous. So everything after it started to be a bit limited, and then they waited to see what blew up, and then they latched onto it, which is a smart business model.
Yeah, true that. True that.
Promethean
But
is
you
getting a
also
second
got to
edition, though.
remember, this was just before White Wolf folded, the first White Wolf.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I guess they were really grasping at straws at that point, going, "How do we keep this company alive without completely selling out, kind of thing?"
and the thing was that Lost was Lost got a huge following, And even I think I remember ICC in Atlanta, like we had more people at the one Lost game we had than we had the 3 nights of Requiem.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because the production was so well done for Lost. Like when we went to go fight Baba Yaga, they pulled us into a room. Excuse me, that's
ahead,
my
man.
therapy. No, I was just coughing. They pulled us into a room that they straight up made look like a fucking forest.
nice.
And they had this chick that didn't really need much makeup to look ugly, but she, whatever. Play Baba Yaga. I'm just saying that because it was one of my exes.
Iron Hair.
Pretty much.
No, that's
Pretty
what
much.
that is one of her names. Is the Iron Hag.
Oh, I thought we were talking about my ex. Yeah.
The beast.
Yeah.
The darkest
Anyway,
corner of my mind is reserved for the beast.
that was the most horrifying sexual experience I ever had in my life. But she answered the hotel door with a fucking diaper on, and
Jesus.
I still went through with it because whatever.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway. But no, the thing was like people gave a lot to Lost, like in live action and tabletop, and it was just fucking fun. Like Requiem, you step on somebody's fucking toe wrong, and you're dead. Whereas like when a Requiem character shows up to a Lost game, bitch, I hope you packed a lunch,
right?
Because you go toe to toe with my fucking gristle grinder. I do 12 ag around. What do you do?
I
will bite
you whole.
Okay, we got a couple of things from New Wave. Include one of them, including a question. This is every time I hear this from her, and it's always from her about Changeling. Yay, PTSD, the RPG.
It's true.
Basically.
But her question is, did Changeling the Lost 2nd Edition core book get released yet?
Yes, you can buy it on Drive-Thru RPG. I suggest you do so.
Oh,
yes.
There you go. Oh, yeah, Daria got answered that question before I could get it out. Thank you. No, that's awesome. Thank you.
Very much.
I think touching on the idea of the Gristle Grind. Oh, sorry, you first, Brian.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think it was like it started on Kickstarter, but it was like one of the most quickly funded World of Darkness books next to the garbage ass vampire rules in the werewolf game that they came out with that I've seen. Because it's taken it usually would take a little while for those two to get kicked in and started up, but when they announced that they were doing a 2nd edition Lost book, like I think within like 2 weeks, it was like fully funded.
It was
nice.
It's been fun. It met almost every stretch goal that they've ended up. They had to keep adding stretch goals.
Yeah,
That sounds kind of like the Prince's Gambit. That one got blew up quick too.
Same with Chicago by Night.
Chicago by Night, yeah.
The Contagion Chronicle did pretty well too.
So, yeah, the downside is I really wish they had done a little more work on Prince's Gambit, because any game that requires a minimum of 6 people to play you're gonna find a hard time getting a bunch of folks together. You really are.
Right.
And I said, well, what you need to do is do an online version of it, and then you'll be finding games all over the damn place. That seems to be the way of the future. Like, I honestly hear words, and I suspect some of it may be true, is that they're actually going to allow online play of Bloodlines 2.
Right.
That is going to be fun.
They're going to have PvP on there.
Huh?
They're going to have PvP on there.
That's what I was thinking.
They've got to. I mean, what are all us expelled Mind's Eye shit show members going to do now?
I know.
PvP and Bloodlines
I
2.
mean, there's that.
Pretty much.
Listen,
Um,
listen. The toxic environment in the LARP community has pretty much killed it. I mean, honestly, there are a few groups that are still doing well, like Matt Webb, with the Night in Question and his cyberpunk thing.
Oh, have you seen the new thing he's doing?
What? Which one?
The like, he's doing one for the Camarilla now. So like, he has the night in
No.
question. But
Really?
yeah,
Oh yeah. Let's do this. Come on, let's do this. Shit, I could actually get involved in that. That would be fun.
yeah, it looks like it's really cool because like he's gonna like it's gonna be spanned out throughout like a year or 2 years or something like that. And there's gonna be 4 games that are gonna be set in like kind of pinky up fancy places that are like meant to be fucking Elysium.
Uh huh.
And then there's going to be event games at like conventions, or you can apply to run an event game that the story is going to like go with like the next big like Elysium game that they have.
Yeah.
So kind of like the Grand Masquerade for 20th.
Well, see, here's the thing. I was going to mention this a minute ago, but I think it's true. Is that that man? The best thing that ever happened to him was getting kicked out of the shit show.
Mm-hmm.
That is the best thing that ever happened to him. And now,
Oh, my fucking accuser! My fucking accuser is on the BOD now.
oh no, really, dude?
Yeah. I saw someone told me the other day. I was like, "Oh, so when are you gonna quit the club then?" And he's like, "I already turned in my letter of resignation." It's like, good boy.
Listen. If people start jumping ship, man, they're gonna find themselves in a bad situation. Remember back in the day of the cam? That's basically what happened to them too. Because you got all these toxic assholes running everything the way they want to run everything without taking into account their whole player base. They're just like, oh, I have some power. I'm going to go ahead and just do whatever the fuck I want to do and fuck all y'all. And
sounds like the true Fae.
huh?
Sounds like the true Fae.
Pretty much.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So,
What was that, Daria?
I said sounds about right.
Yeah, it sounds like
Anyway,
the true Fae.
Lost is awesome. Play Lost.
oh, by the way,
Play
New
Lost.
Wave, yeah, and I'm driving. Let's do
But,
that. We need a road trip. Roll up in there with in a horde.
but yeah, no, 2 points for Changeling. One, I think what draws people to it is there are 12 different kiths, which are basically an equivalent would be like sort of like clans. It's what you are that you can choose from. So there's massive variety, and all of them are different, which is really nice. No two are the same. And also, yeah, the True Fae are some of your best Chronicles of Darkness antagonists, since they are literally beings of power who are like, I manipulate reality with words and intention. Fuck you.
Holy shit.
And I think
No,
what
he's right. He is absolutely right.
Yeah.
So they're
And the major
definitely
draw-
not playable.
Go ahead, Daria.
I was gonna say the major draw for second edition over first edition is the entire book basically just sums up. This is all guidelines. Make up your own stuff, and as long as you clear it with your GM, then you're anything.
Page 96, man.
Oh, also, True Fae, they are playable.
We lost him. Did I lose y'all too?
No, we're all here.
We're here.
I'm here.
Okay,
Um,
you
that's
cut
okay.
out at the end of that one, Thomas.
Oh, anyway, what I was saying was, technically, you can run a True Fae game if you don't mind being. You have to, but the problem with the True Fae is they're so alien. They operate on yellow-blue morality. They're just impulse. They're beings of impulse with unfathomable power. Like, take Mage and then remove all the paradox, remove the need for mana, and that's a True Fae in Arcadia. They're just like, I want that. I want this to look like that. You're now a lamp. I'm going to twist you into a dancer, but I'm going to rip all your skin off and expose your bone.
That shit should not be playable.
No,
It's
that
playable.
shouldn't be.
Damn, that's OP as fuck.
horrible. And yeah,
Oh, it
it's
is.
OP as
Yeah.
fuck.
But they're only that powerful in their realms of Arcadia. When they go out into the hedge or in the real world, their powers diminish, and the True Fae all don't get along. There's
Why would they?
they're all members of courts, and there's plans and backstabs and lovers and haters, and technically any Fae title. This is the fun part. Fae all have titles. If one Fae has multiple titles, that's multiple personalities. That's multiple versions of themselves, because every title is an entity. And a Fae can hold multiple titles and be multiple entities
Oh yeah.
all at once.
And they enjoy
That
taking
sounds
each other's
complex.
titles.
Oh, so you can actually snatch titles from other people. Well,
Yep.
Faye. That's fucking crazy.
And of course, if you take their last one, then that true face ceases to exist.
Oh, see, that's not good.
Holy shit.
Oh,
So
my
they're
God.
killable. Oh, and cold iron. Cold iron hurts like a
Cold
bitch.
iron, man. It's like aggravated damage to a Fae.
Also, minuses all their defense, and none of their powers work on it.
Oh,
Unless they have cold iron immunity.
They took that out in second edition, it looks like.
Oh well, fuck that.
So
Yeah, because the
Brian,
changelings
is that
no longer have.
Royan?
The changelings themselves are also no longer immune.
yeah, the changelings in second edition are no longer immune to cold iron. They suffer the same effects as the true Fang goblins.
Oh.
To the point that courts and freeholds now have ethics debates over whether or not it's fair to lock changelings in cold iron cages for imprisonment.
Oh,
Oh, no.
I want to play that fucking game.
None
See
of
what
that
they made of
sounds
me?
good, dude. Seriously,
Oh.
none of that sounds good.
See, that's
Seems
your
like a bad
antagonist,
time,
though.
but I still want to do it.
Yeah, that's your antagonist. That's your big fear, is your keeper finding you and wanting you back. And that's why you stay hidden. You have to blend in. You have to find a life and security, and you have to cling to it and find power with other changelings. But again, where there's power, there's corruption. And your fellow changelings can be
Not fun.
just as wicked.
Which is
Power
why they usually
corrupts.
have,
Absolute
yeah,
power corrupts absolutely.
which is why
Yeah, I'll
changelings only get
bring it up. I just...
trust through the power of basically binding pledges and
Oh,
oaths.
okay.
Yeah.
For
Tried
the
a couple
folks that are
times, but
just
he learned
joining
it.
us in the
He
chat,
learned it was a bad idea. Hi, Yoda.
for the folks that are just joining us in the chat, you got questions for the panel? Go ahead and throw them in, man. We love answering shit if we can, anyhow. Brian Scott says he likes the addition of the Huntsman.
Daria, will you
Oh.
describe the huntsman?
Yeah.
The basic thing for the huntsmen is
no.
that they're spirits of the hunt that live in the hedge, but the true Fae will, when they want changelings back, will just gather up a bunch of junk, catch a wild hunt spirit, and then add a little bit of themselves to it, and then be like, okay, go out and get my changeling. And the huntsmen generally can't really come back until they succeed, and they hate existing.
So like Mr.
Existing pisses
Meeseeks.
them off. Yes.
Mr. Meeseeks.
But
That's the most perfect description I've heard today.
Yeah, imagine Mr. Meeseeks on steroids, and it utterly hates existing to the point where it will do anything and everything to drag that lost, kicking and screaming back through the hedge. Because I'm tired of living. Enough's enough.
But also that they have their own little personalities and quirks for how they like to do things to get their goals done. So and they all basically all fairy type creatures enjoy stories and being part of stories and crafting stories.
Another
And
thing
hence they're
too.
no-
I'm sorry. I was my roommate came home and I talked to her. Say like you can go into the Fey world and Lost and be there for hundreds of years, and then come back and it would be 5 minutes after you left.
Yeah, time works differently in the Fey realm. Scott Banks has a question. So the Huntsmen are the original rulers of Arcadia, right?
That seems to be what was hinted, is that they were basically kind of ousted from Arcadia.
because the story hints that the true Fae weren't always in Arcadia. They showed up one day and were something else, but have become so tied into the weird, which is the sort of magic and essence of the hedge in Arcadia, that they now are a part of it, which is how they can control Arcadia. And the weird is interesting because the weird is basically the power of stories and the power of promises. If a changeling holds someone to a pact and has the slots open for it, the weird itself will hold them to it. And if you break your promise, the weird will punish you.
regardless of the reason that the promise was broken.
Yeah.
If you get abducted by aliens and as a result cannot fulfill your promise to water your neighbor changeling's plants, then the weird does not care
Ah, okay.
because you were supposed to do it.
You were supposed to do it, and you will be punished. And it likes ironic punishments, but sometimes it will just strike you dead.
The ring is treacherous. It will hold you to your word.
Yes.
Mhm. And the
So
funny
this is
thing is
mostly
that a changeling can hold somebody to a promise just as simple as "I will not rest until I finish this task."
I'm going
Right.
to hold you to that. Now you can't sleep until the task is done.
And if you do stop, then you possibly you just drop dead.
By the way, just gonna throw a
Your final
plug
rest.
out for some friends of ours. There, if you're really hip to Changeling and want to know more, there's a show. It's called Walking Away from Arcadia. If you could usually find it in Victor Kinzer in I'm trying to remember who the co-host is for that one. But they they post on Facebook. All you have to do is look up "Walking Away from Arcadia," and it's a great show. It really is, because that brother knows his Fae. Bet on that.
Be looking into that.
So, a common theme I'm just now realizing talking about this is where Changeling and Promethean have some crossover is the idea of our world rejecting them, because goblins and things that live in the hedge, if they step into our world and are perceived by a human, they start taking aggravated damage
Ow.
for every
really.
person who sees them until they die, and then they will just disappear. They can't exist in our world. And Prometheans, if they stay in a place too long, they start to corrupt the land around them. And that can be through like actual deforestation, forest fires, dead crops, sickness, but in urban decay as well. Crime rates suddenly go up. People start moving out. If they stay in a place too long, their corruption just spreads and it destroys an area. So the idea of the world rejecting people is also pretty big in both these, and it's a fun idea of the world itself knows you don't belong, and it will punish you for it.
Yeah, well, I know in the Changeling the Dreaming, it's banality that puts you into in that situation. Is it the same for the Lost?
So the lost themselves aren't hated. So they reality doesn't hurt them, but if they drop their mask, the thing that makes them human, crazy shit will start happening around them, and they are then basically walking masquerade violations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the power of the weird basically, in most cases, for most things that leave the hedge, they can gain a mask. Changelings, it happens innately. And the mask often kind of resembles what they used to look like, but usually it provides reasonable explanation for the way things look, see, or feel on them normally. So, like if they have
Right.
horns and a person touches their brow, then they just feel a very pronounced brow.
Oh, okay. All right, we
Oh.
got two things here. Brian's got. I'm gonna read this verbatim. I'm not quite as sure. I. It is a question. I can tell that. But he says, when you were doing the new edition, at what level did you think of upping the power level of the game? Running it, it was a surprise to me by how powerful the contracts are.
This is for
So
me?
Whoever.
Oh. When I ran the game, I ran it in Huntsville, Alabama, and the average MC in Huntsville, Alabama was MC 11. because we had 2 BOD members, a regional coordinator, and a regional storyteller, and a bunch of other people that had held regional positions. So I was running it soft foot, and I kept getting groans that the NPCs are easy, yada yada yada. So I was like, all right, motherfuckers. I went to the RST and I was like, hey, I want to use this true fae that's in this book. It's a dragon. It was literally a fucking dragon. And they were just like, they went into the battle like, oh, we're going to beat this dragon. And I almost
Right.
killboxed the entire Chronicle. And when the RC was fucking crying was when I just had that moment of joy. Because I couldn't stand that fucking character. And I just had to smile on my face, and my roommate just looked at me and he's like, dude, don't kill her. I was like, but I have her right here.
Yeah, right.
I want her to know I have her right here. But that was when I did it. That was when I upped the power of the game, because it was just like, changelings are so fucking powerful. I mean, mine that I had a gristle grinder ogre, and he was a wrestler and an MMA fighter. I hit you and I do ag.
Ow.
I bite you and your character is dead. Because my bites are double damage, pray that I don't roll a 10.
Oh.
Because I'm doing 12 ag at that point.
Oh, I can
And-
also bite you without grappling you as a gristle grinder. It's awesome.
Yeah, that as well. Yes, I unhinge my fucking jaw and I swallow you whole.
Oh, by the way, you
Like-
take 1 point of lethal per turn you're in my stomach, and you have to do 5 lethal in one roll to escape.
Yeah, it's
Nice working that in, right?
Oh, by the way, this is all innate abilities. These aren't contracts like Bryan mentioned. I think the power needed to be up for Changelings, because originally I liked first edition Changeling the Lost, don't get me wrong, but I felt the way the contracts worked on a dot basis was far too linear, whereas the new way, there is no just like discipline, 1 dot does this. They're all individual contracts of various power levels, either common or royal, and they are you manipulating reality using the weird and your own willpower. Because technically, as a Changeling gets more weird, as their weird goes up, the more like the true fae they become. They start to inherit things like banes and taboos, behavior they can't abide or even do without suffering conditions. And banes, like ringing of bells, will cause you aggravated damage because you're becoming less human.
They become addicted to the same energy that they get their magic from, which is glamour. If they have less glamour than they have weird, then they will start to starve, whereas low weird changelings only start to starve when they are tapped out.
Okay, New
And-
Wave asked a little bit back there. Now that we've covered the contracts question, she wants us to go into depth on the changelings and Prometheans, the different types. So we're going to start with. Now I'm assuming she's talking about lineages,
Yes,
at least for Promethean. So
that's
let's
correct.
start with Frankenstein.
Now, if I remember correctly, is this where I'm trying to find, because there's the Tammuz, which I don't think are Frankenstein. Give me a moment to find Frankenstein. Where are you?
Told you, it's Frankenstein. You people quit.
I will pronounce Frankenstein's name however I wish. Okay, found him. Because quite literally, his Promethean lineage is named after him. I don't know how I missed that. So the lineages.
Igor.
But the idea of the different Promethean lineages is and this is going to change some in second edition, I think. So beware, this is somewhat outdated. But the Frankensteins, as they are currently being called here, are given life through the elements of either fire or lightning. And what they are is very much like their progenitor, a person who's been stitched together, and maybe there's some technology bits in there, brought to life by lightning. And they're pretty interesting. It's very much based on the movie. They're passionate creatures, but they just rage and brute force is just part of their being. unfortunately.
Wham, wham, wham.
And despite the fact that, again, they just want to be human, they want to be left alone, they want to be loved. Just their rage, their fuse is so short that they hold grudges, and they just Frankenstein smash when you make him angry. He'll feel bad about it, write some depressing poetry, and then move, but he'll still smash you.
I'm loving some of these nicknames. Karloffs, or Thunderstruck, or Patchwork Men. I love it. I love it.
No,
You know,
they're fun. A lot of them are fun. My favorite are the muses or the dolls, personally. Those ones are my favorites. The ones that are they appear beautiful, but in reality are really messed up and grotesque. But they love the mental and emotional manipulation. That's what's fun about them.
okay.
And their major disfigurement is though they appear beautiful, as you look at it, it looks artificial. It looks more mannequin like or statue like. It looks like plastic surgery. And
Like a
eventually,
Kardashian.
Yeah.
yeah, Kim Kardashian is probably one of the muses. Let's all be honest.
You're right. Come on, y'all. You're not that.
Michael Jackson isn't dead. He's just amused.
He's just a muse. Yeah, he was also just a muse.
I like the Frankenstein logo. The fist.
Oh, yeah.
The fist with the lightning.
Hmm.
Well, that's actually a pretty cool logo, or whatever you want to call it. I see it. In Vampire, it would be a clan glyph. But I have no idea what it is here, and other than using it as a logo.
I think it's just a sigil of their because they have pilgrim marks as well as they have their sort of lineage crests or
Yeah, I
sigils.
see the Frankenstein pilgrim mark. It's actually kind of cool too.
Yeah, the pilgrim marks are cool because they're little things you have, and what's great is they're a little visual you can give your players of you see this symbol sort of carved into rock or a door, and it rings true for people of that lineage. And maybe other Prometheans as well, or the occasional, hunter who's looking for these things that doesn't know what the symbol means, but knows that he'll find some freaky shit there if he looks behind that door.
I'm gonna be
If
honest,
he
man.
survives it.
If I was a hunter, I would not go in there. I'm just saying. Just
I
But
don't ever
somebody's
know.
got to go all the
concept
places
of
they don't need belong.
What's that?
Yeah.
Sorry, Daria.
Come on.
I said somebody's got to go all the places they don't belong.
Don't climb on my stomach, please.
Adventure.
Is somebody getting Levins?
Yeah, Roan's a little traitor, so
Of course. Aren't they
She's-
all?
yeah. But the other two dogs are coming over to me because Roan's hogging up all the attention, and
Right.
they just
of
said, "Fine."
course. No,
We're gonna come over here.
was sitting there on my feet just a few minutes ago until somebody went in the kitchen, and then all of a sudden he had to go find out what's up because they might have accidentally dropped some food or something.
See, this is why I have ferrets.
Ferrets are fun too. I love me a tube rat. I think they're great. I've only owned two, but they were both just adorable.
Yeah.
I've had 3. I'm down to 1.
Oh,
Aww.
all right. So moving on, the
Yes.
is it
The muses.
Galatea?
Galatea.
Okay, well, there's a Galatea.
Galatea.
Oh, okay. Now I remember. I know where.
The pronunciation guide is helpful.
Yeah, no, right. I see that. So
It's a
yeah,
little thing that helps you pronunciate it.
exactly what he said.
It's right there by the name. It even is like right next to the name.
But Galatea is the name of the one of the robots in iRobot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yep, which
So-
they grabbed out of Greek myth.
That's
So-
what I figured. Yeah, Pygmalion.
That's
That
it.
was Galatea was the one who. Or Pygmalion is the one who created Galatea,
Yep.
the ultimate narcissist.
Other than Narcissus.
Other
Yep,
than Narcissus, yeah.
other than Narcissus. But no, yeah, the uh, the Galatea are also interesting because this starts to play on the idea of it says they're made of marble, but the idea is also they're made of people. So it's this amalgamation of stonework and people parts, and then blessed with the divine fire creates one of
That
these
sounds fucked
creatures.
up.
Yeah, they're all fucked up. The Prometheans get really
Right, they're
fucked
all
up.
fucked up.
They're all fucked up, and they're again their derangement is they look artificially perfect. So again, barring from the Shamasei, because they can make themselves look alienly beautiful, and it's like, yeah, they're a walking masquerade violation, and people are gonna light you on fire. But I guess you're pretty.
Right? At least
Good on
Right.
you.
We got another question from Scott. Does anybody know when the new Kith book comes out?
Not yet. I think it's like draft stages right now.
Oh, okay.
That one's
Okay.
gonna be awesome.
I'm looking forward to it.
Are all the pilgrim marks based on that circle and triangle shape?
So most of them are, yes.
Okay. Just with
There's
minor differences to the actual glyph.
they get more like once you hit the Ulgan, because that one's a circle with sort of like an X through it and two arrows. The Osiris is like wavelengths, funky upside down triangle. The Tammuz have a triangle, circle, cross, arrow, and then the Zeka don't have one because they're new.
Oh, okay.
The Zeka were born basically thanks to nuclear tests and the nuclear bombs. That's
Oh.
the element that they were given and added to that awoken the divine fire in a bunch of pieced together radiated bodies.
Oh.
Brown.
All right, so we're moving on to the Osiren,
Here, baby.
which
Here, baby.
Ah,
is something I could do, I think. I'm apparently they are descended from Osiris.
yep. At least that's what they believe, or their naming convention says. And of course, they're made up
There
of
was
once again
lightning. You weren't here, and I had to hide.
buttload of
Wasn't
different
Osiris the
body
guy that
parts,
got chopped into pieces?
Yeah, he was
all
hiding
chopped
like
up,
underneath
mixed
my
together
leg.
with herbs,
Like
and rolled
every time
around
there
in
was
river
lightning,
water.
he would run across the floor
Okay,
and
wait,
run
They're
back
hold
to
very
up.
me
Hey, dude,
and like come
hold
sit on
up.
my leg.
Thank you. Okay, because you were over talking. The so continue.
The fun thing about them is it's sort of going back to that some of the old World of Darkness things because again their display their disfigurement itself displays their Egyptian heritage because underneath their facade they look like mummies, skeletal corpses
Ooh,
with skin that's rotted and
bandages and
bandage or maybe they wear
shuffling and all
bandages. But
that
yeah,
fun shit.
they're this dissected skin. Their skin is wrapped in their wrapped like tight to their bones. So the minute that fake thing falls, so probably as a person, when they're appearing you human, they're like, oh, I am just really thin. But they're also really gory because you have to remember they've been chopped up, so they have wounds and open sores when you see them. They are just crypt keeper gorier. But
Has everybody in the channel seen the Doctor Who episode of Mummy on the Orient Express?
I've never
That's
watched
what I'm
a single
imagining.
episode of that show in my life.
something
Huh?
like that, though,
Damn.
yeah.
I was literally just thinking, oh, they're the walking embodiment of plagues of Egypt.
Yep,
Yeah.
that
I
too.
was going to say like the quintessential mummy.
Quintessential mummy. Throw in some harbingers of skulls in there, and you've got it.
Oh shit.
Oh, not good. Again,
No,
not good.
not good, especially since revivification and corpse and tongue are their bestowment. So they literally about like bestowing and taking away life, messing with corpses and things to do with the tongue, as in like languages and probably their actual physical tongue. Very snake-like.
Now,
You know it's perfectly fine.
it looks like I'm gonna have to take away New Wave's nerd card 'Cause she's
Not
never
everyone.
She's
Uh,
never seen Doctor Who.
If you've watched Star Trek, Star Wars, and or Doctor Who, you're fine. You just have to watch one of the big
One of
three.
the two. One of mix or match. I actually have watched all three. Matter of
As
fact,
have
I'm
I.
burning my way through the Next Generation on Netflix right now. I'm waiting until the Borg thing, and then I'll switch over and go back and forth between um, the Next Generation and DS9.
Good.
Nice.
And then as soon as we get to Malkeith, shit, what are they called? The pirate people. The one, well, anyway, the one where they go, they live, they have their bases in the Badlands. I can't remember what that group is
They're the
called.
changeling ones.
No. That's Dominion warship. We'll get to that in a minute. Or not. I'm sorry. We're not talking about Star Trek. But no, the what is that? What are they called?
Are they the hunters, the species that's all about hunting other species?
Oh, those are the oh shit.
Predator?
Huh?
Not
No,
predator,
no,
but
seriously.
close.
I mean, I don't know.
Here's my issue. I hate to mention this, while we're live, but I think it's important. I've been having some memory issues lately. I'm not sure what's going on. The doctors got me running back and forth for tests and shit, but it seems like I'm having a problem recalling long-term memory. Short-term memory, I'm good, but it doesn't translate to long-term memory. Okay, she gets to keep her nerd card.
There you go.
She gets to keep her nerd card. I better not hear anything. Anywho, so yeah, I honestly don't know what's going on, and I hope it's not like early onset Alzheimer's and shit. That would just freak me the fuck out.
Right.
I mean, I'm only
Understandably.
52, so it's a bit of a
It's a bit of a worry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you. So anyway, moving on to the next lineage, the Zamuz. Hold on. Let me pull it up. Tammuz, sorry.
The Tammuz. These are your golems. These are the ones that are
Oh,
hulking things of flesh and earth.
and have the big thing on their
Yep.
forehead with the. I guess
That's correct.
What is it called? It's in Hebrew. There's like one
Shem.
difference. There's one line difference between life and death.
Yep.
I remember the old, that I do seem to remember.
Yeah, they do have illuminated sigils of a word important to the individual golem appear in prominent places, especially the forehead. So yeah, they are melancholic things that are very much about unbreakable will and unholy stamina. So these things can just they're depressed, but don't get on their bad side.
Oh shit! This actually has what is it? Fucking hell! It's got a shout out to Requiem. Not Requiem. Shit. The first vampire game, the one.
Masquerade.
No, computer game.
Blood.
Redemption.
No, Redemption. Yeah.
Redemption, because it's the Tammuz claim that the Golem of Prague is one of their number.
Yes.
I don't know how many times I died to that bloody golem.
That golem's hard to fight.
Yeah.
Like that thing is just impossible at that early in the game.
I got as far as when you're fighting the Cappadocians, and my friend told me you can Diablerize things on that game,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, sweet. So I Diablerized the whole level, and then I died. And I was like, you know what? This game is stupid. I'm gonna go back and play Mario.
I really liked it.
I'm a
Hey,
Bloodlines
I actually
fan,
had
but
a
I
good
recognize
time with it.
Redemption I recognize we got Bloodlines because of Redemption, so I'm thankful to it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
am too.
Yeah.
Well, no, my introduction to some of the lesser clans, I don't want to say lesser, that's not a good term to use. The Cappadocians, that was my first introduction to
The not 7 clans.
Yeah.
The non-vanilla clans.
yes.
Your
Now,
Rocky Road and your
I
Assamites
I
and
do
your
like that the concept, especially in Bloodlines 2. I think they're actually going to let you be able to make your own clan in Bloodlines 2. At least that's the
oh
word
god,
I
I'm
have.
that so it's basically fucking Requiem then.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
I mean,
Requiem kind of you're stuck being a bruiser, but yeah, you can, as long as you find the books, you can actually get all the frickin' disciplines that you can imagine. And you're right.
I'm not sure they're gonna let you make your own clan, at least not initially in Bloodlines 2. That might be a DLC or a patch later.
Don't put it past them.
Wait a minute, what? Hold up. What was that?
So I wouldn't put it past them that they added on a DLC later.
I mean, that's where some of the other clans are going to be, like La Sombra and Setites.
Oh yeah.
I'll be surprised if they actually
would play
release the
a
damn
Sedite.
game.
Okay. Brian's got another question for us. Have they turned down Disquiet from the first edition? I made the game. It made the game unplayable, in my opinion. I could find no one who wanted to play it.
Yes, they are toning down Disquiet so it does not spread nearly as fast, and it's far more subtle. And so your group of Prometheans or your Promethean in your mixed group doesn't like screw everyone over because its corrupting influence starts destroying the area around them within a matter of weeks, if not a little longer.
It's starting to sound. I don't know if you've seen the movie R.I.P.D. The Rest in Peace Department with the dude who played the dude and
Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, and then fucking hell, the guy who plays Deadpool.
Ryan
Ryan
Reynolds.
Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. And it's like these ghosts, these that are still among the living humans. You could tell that they're there because their entire surroundings just get corrupted. That's how you know
Yeah.
there's a ghost in the area. Is because everything just starts looking fucked up. Oh, see, Scott's seen it. Anyway, no, New Wave says you start as Thin Blood in
Yep.
Bloodlines 2. And
Oh.
then
You
you
start as a
elevate
Caitiff.
to one of the clans.
You start as Thin Blood, and then at some point you get to be elevated to one of the clan status. So, hooray, Camarilla Sanction Diablerie.
Oh, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I know. Well, no, see, back in the day, we used to play, play vampire in chat rooms. You really put you put a lot of effort into your avatar, and it was a lot of fun until the one of the players that I had recruited to the game on that particular message or board decided that she could get all 13, all of the disciplines just by diablerie. And I kept trying to tell her. I was like, no, this is not the way this works. I said, yes, you get the possibility of having that particular discipline if you have a member of that clan teach it to you after you diablerize one of them. Yeah, that was, she just couldn't get through her head. All right, so Olgon, that's the next group.
Yep, the Olgon. They're an interesting bunch. They're also known as the Riven. They apparently their progenitor was a shaman from Siberia who shares the name Olgon. But others say Olgon's true progenitor was
Orpheus,
Orpheus.
the man
Yep.
who walked into the underworld and back out again.
Yep. Theirs apparently, their disfigurement is their skin becomes leathery, turning lighter or darker depending on who you are. Yawning rents appear in their skin, yet no blood spills from them. Inside the rents, there's only darkness. Darkness so utter, so absolute, it begins to leak into the physical world.
Ew.
So if you think about the inside, sort of like oblivion or obtenebration darkness, and their skin is leathery and it tears, but there's nothing inside but this unholy darkness. Poor
That sounds
bastards.
lovely.
Does this
Don't,
sounds
don't
like
they all just sound lovely to play?
I know, right?
These
It's
poor
not like it's
creatures of
depressing.
misfortune.
I said truly, there's nothing depressing about anything in the world of darkness.
And this is why Prometheans chase humanity. They want to be mortal. They want to be this thing they never have been, but feel like they're so close to be able
So,
to do so.
what is
They just have
this?
to get there.
What is this? The bestowments, I guess is how it's.
Those are basically their powers,
Okay,
their
so
their version of disciplines.
okay,
Okay.
then the Orphean song. That's the one I'm curious about.
The Orphean song, a raven can use their Azoth, which is their energy, and a song to lull ghosts and spirits into a slumbering state. So
Oh,
the Olagon deal with spirits and ghosts, which are, of course, similar but different in Chronicles.
yeah.
And they're able to control and lull them to sleep. So you can, sort of pull ghosts, make deals with them, and then those you don't want to deal with, it's like, I'm just going to lull you into sleep, which releases your hold in the physical plane. And oh, look, you're back in your side of the veil. Fuck you. Have a good nap.
So we talking? Are we talking the same Vale and the Shadowlands as we are for Wraith, or is that
Similarly,
Geist?
yes. So in Chronicles, spirits and ghosts are kept separate, much like how they sort of are in Old World. So in New World, there is the shadows, there's the Shadowlands, and then there is the Twilight. The Twilight is where ghosts go after people die. The shadows are things like the road spirits, the light spirits, the lamp spirits, the glass eyes, which are basically CCTV and telecommunication spirits.
Oh,
These things and inanimate objects and directions that have a spirit that controls them. That's where
oh,
they live. And there's a gauntlet between them and between our world and there. And that wears thin sometimes because in Werewolf Land, there are creatures that like to chew through it, or there are creatures that are giant spiders that inhabit people's bodies who like to web it up and make it thicker to try and separate the worlds forever.
ah.
And it gets pretty nasty. And this is where again some of the bleed through happens.
Well, the
So the
reason
Ulgon.
I asked the question is that if we're talking about the same underworld that is ruled by Hades, yeah, and Persephone,
Mhm.
um,
Mm.
is that what we're talking about here, or
Not necessarily. No, not in not in that vein in Chronicles. The Werewolf, the Forsaken book goes far more into what the Shadowland is like on the other side of the gauntlet, because that's where the spirits came from, both benevolent and malevolent, and that's not the underworld is more the Twilight, which is a ghostly reflection of our world, and that's where ghosts and spirits go when they die. At
oh,
least, unless something else happens to them.
shout out to Adam. Thanks for joining us, man. And he answered the question I had apparently. So moving on, it looks like we're gonna have to do this a little faster because we've still got to get to the changeling stuff.
Oh shit.
Unfleshed.
Gosh.
That sounds bad.
Uh, the Unfleshed are basically those who don't belong to a lineage. However, they're getting their own lineage in second edition. It hasn't been
Oh.
fleshed out yet, but yeah, no, the Unfleshed are
Fleshed
getting.
out.
Yep, they're getting fleshed out. um,
Y'all need to quit.
come come second edition, they're getting their entire own lineage, and they're getting their own focus finally. So we'll see how that goes when that comes to be. But yeah, in second edition right now, the idea is they're a full Promethean lineage. Um, they have an excess of oil, humor, and the idea is these are the people who get the like steam engine clockwork stuff
Ah,
shoved into dead flesh and brought to life. So
so
similarly to
steampunk
what
golem.
Stahl was making. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
steampunk golems and yeah, they unflesh can be created from statues, idols, mannequins, robots, and chatbots. So you can
Oh,
literally make it out of programs or computer things holding programs. So yeah,
huh.
they're going to be fun. They're going to be like the new technological advancement, which is what the Zika kind of were before them. Things made from the nuclear energies,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're getting there in a minute. So, all right, thank you for that. Let's move on to the Zika.
the atomic bomb made them. Like their nicknames, Children of the Bomb, and
Right.
Really?
Well, yeah, you ought to see their clan logo or whatever. You know what I mean?
it's actually pretty cool. I like them, but yeah, no, they're constantly unwell and in a state of radiation poisoning, so they're constantly in pain. And the poor things are just they're pretty nasty. Like they can make zombies out of their powers with their bestowments. They can just be like, I decide I want a zombie today, so here's a zombie because I said so.
Does say reanimator.
Yep.
Well, there you
So
go.
yeah, they're a nasty bunch, but they're super super rare. The book sort of like you're not gonna have a full party of them
Well, it
because
says
they're
there's only
rarer.
5.
Yep. So they are
So they would
super
have to
duper
be
rare.
restricted by the storyteller, right?
Yeah, that I mean, theoretically, you could do an entire chronicle where a bomb goes off in X city, and then you play a group of these Zika who were created through the detonation of the bomb, and then there would technically be more if you wanted to go that route for a
Okay.
story.
Well, it says here that the first 5 were created by the Sarbamba, the
Hmm.
largest nuclear blast ever.
Damn. La 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 Sabamba.
It says the Sarbamba. It's always a fun name. I like saying it. All right, Pandoran.
The Pandorans aren't actually Prometheans. A Pandoran is created when a Promethean's creation goes horribly fucking wrong,
Oh,
and they become creatures that quite literally just devour Azoth. So they hunt down Prometheans and alchemists to devour them and suck out all their energies.
ew.
They
They're
are,
Again,
butchers.
doesn't sound
yeah.
like fun to me.
No, they're not they're not playable. I mean, maybe one day they might be somewhat like the Revenants from Requiem, but as of right now, they are mainly antagonists. They are monsters that will
Kind of
hunt
like
you down.
specters and wraith.
And yeah, inspectors and wraith, they hunt you down to devour you and to just absorb everything you are to fill that bottomless pit that is their stomach.
We got a sort of off-topic question from Bryan. Wants to know: is our ghosts actually spirits of people, or just reflections of the Geist, or just reflections? The Geist is vague.
Um, so I found that I separate them. Ghosts are the spirits of people who have died, and then spirits are the sort of personification of ideas or items or things in the spirit world. Like you can have justice spirits, shadow spirits, window spirits, mirror spirits.
Oh, you mentioned
And,
those, yeah.
and the world of darkness is vague because it wants you to make them up. The writers want you just to have fun with these little principles and breadcrumbs. Like, there's an entire thing in Changeling about there are people in the mirrors. There are mirror people for Changelings who walk through mirrors because staying between
Yeah.
mirrors too long is dangerous. There's no stats, there's no description, but there are mirror people. Have
Huh.
fun with that as you will. There's plenty of horror movies dealing with
Well,
mirrors.
that's what Tremere did to Goratrix.
Yep,
Hmm.
put him in a mirror. Now he's stuck with the
Oh
mirror people.
yeah.
So that could be interesting. All right, so that's the last of the the lineages. So let's move on to and Daria, you still with us?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't want to lose you. So let's talk. We talk. Let's see. What are they called here? Seemings? No, never
Yep.
mind.
There are
Uh,
seemings and there are
News
kith.
and myths, and
oh,
both are important.
okay. So which one should we go with? Seemings or quartz?
Uh, for seemings, it's actually that's pretty much the core to the. It's like the disciplines for vampires.
Ah,
Um, in first edition, it was you got your seeming from your true fae when you were kidnapped. In second edition, you get your seeming based on how you escape.
oh, okay.
And so there are six of them. There's the beast seeming, which is of course the more animal type. The darklings, who deal mostly in secrecy and shadows. The elementals, who self-explanatory, they wield elements or a chosen element. Um,
Airbender.
yep, you can have yourself an airbender. The wizened, who they deal really well in crafts and tinkering, and the ogres, who are your hulking brutes.
You
And
also
this
have the
one.
fairest, who are the
Oh,
fairest
right,
and
and the
prettiest
fairest,
of them all.
and the best charismatic leaders, except for when they're not.
Fucking Toreadors. You just can't get
The
away from
fairest are
those.
very much like the Toreadors,
That's what I'm saying.
only
You just can't get away from those assholes.
they can fuck you up, though. They are scary like the Toreador.
This is true.
But yeah, the seeming is sort of like that's what makes there's far less of them, and every changeling has a seeming, and then they have a kith, which reflects what their Feymaster wanted them to be, and what their Feymaster morphed them into. And there
Or
are 12 of those.
at least what they were when they escaped.
Yeah, since your Feymaster could be like, one day you're a dancer, the next day you're a table lamp, the day
Well-
after that, you're a cooling summer breeze.
Okay, apparently, Adam is asking a question that I don't understand. Did I miss the talk about the Kashmal?
The Kashmal are a creature in Promethean that is it's a creature that no one quite knows. They're apparently formed of Pyros themselves, the sort of energy that is heavily connected to Prometheans. And these creatures either try to guide Prometheans on their pilgrimage or try to hinder them. But they're very vague, and I don't know much about them, unfortunately, but they're interesting because some of them do, in fact, wish to help, and others wish to hurt, and they're sort of like these vague servants of the Pyros, of this energy of the divine fire and the pilgrimage overall. They're
Hey, my phone's about to die, so I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys go. But this was fun.
Okay, good night.
All right, take it easy.
Thank you.
Happy to hear your voice, man. I know
Oh, me too.
you've had issues, and I always tried to be very supportive. Okay.
I appreciate it. Just I don't want to like be in mid conversation and then my phone dies.
I
So
got
I'm gonna
you.
go ahead and let you go.
All right.
Have a good night.
Bryan.
All right.
Okay, I'll listen on though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a debate in the chat, a peanut gallery, as I like to call it. This is
nice.
New Wave. Hell yeah, darkness for the win. And then Adam says, until you run into an ogre.
Yep, so I responded with Darklings still win. They don't lose sanity by accidentally scaring people.
Yeah, I know.
no, but Darklings lose sanity when they tell someone or figure out information they given has been a lie. So ogre's totally for the win. I agree.
Come on, y'all. You're not going to try to start an argument in here, right?
No, not at all.
No.
But that's the fun thing about Changeling, though, is you
Say
can find
trying.
seemings and kiths that just resonate, and you can try different ones for different characters.
So,
Yeah, which is
okay,
one of the cool things about second edition
So
is
should we do the? I guess we'll do the seemings because that seems to be their version of what we just did for the Prometheans. So let's start with Beast. We're gonna do it in
my
alphabetical-
personal favorite.
Go then.
All right, go girl.
So the beasts are first edition. They were literally their true fae stripped them of all of their humanity and literally turned them into animals because the true fae can't go out and get a dog when they want a dog. They have to get a person and turn that person into a dog. And second edition, they basically kind of go the same way, and then basically they end up relying strictly on their instincts and whatnot when they escape, and they become a beast seeming permanently.
Oh.
And they benefit because they get every seeming gets a bonus point in one stat. Theirs is, I think, resistance stat, so they get one extra in resolve, stamina, or composure of your choice for beasts.
Okay.
And then, of course, every seeming gets special abilities. Beasts can do unarmed lethal damage at will,
Ow.
but they have to pay
Oh.
a point of glamour for it if they're suffering from the cowed, frightened, or any of the other fearful conditions.
Okay.
And
So
then
holy crap.
their
Yeah.
downside is that the way Changeling's integrity works is completely different from all the others, because theirs can actually be restored by spending time with their touchstones, because it acts as a lack of sanity for them. And
Okay. Go ahead.
all six of the seemings have one thing that would cause them to potentially lose some of their sanity. And for beasts, it's if they act impulsively and it somehow hurts somebody that they didn't intend to.
Now I'm looking. I guess each of the seemings are subdivided into kith.
That was first edition. Second edition, any kith can be from any seeming.
Oh, okay. So no, we no reason to go all into that. I guess,
Yep.
Mm.
or
Uh,
unless you really want to.
we could breeze through Kiss as soon as we're done with Seemings, because the
Well, no.
Seemings are.
Here's the thing. We've only got 40 minutes. And I know that sounds like a lot, but trust me, once we get rolling, you know how this works.
I know.
Come on, this is why it's all free form, man. So, um, do you think we need to go through the kiss, or do you just want to keep
Um,
up with?
we could do a kind of brief thing to talk about just kind of the things that kiths are capable of again
Okay,
once we're done with seemings.
shoot.
So, but that basically does it for beasts. They're basically the animals, and as a first edition politics, they're usually generally pretty looked down on because they're considered kind of subhuman
Okay,
by
Bryan.
all of the other changelings. Oh, that's a kith.
Yeah, you said I
Which one?
thought you said we were gonna,
Oh no, I thought we were going to do that after all of the seemings.
Oh, well, we can do that too. All right, so
You could also
next one.
just jump around.
Okay, next one. Darklings. Ooh,
Ooh.
these are. This is not good.
Okay, you want to take that one or should I?
The Darklings are creatures that used stealth or trickery to escape their uh, their captors, and because of it, they like their blessing is you get an extra dot in finesse, so that's a free dot after character creation in dexterity, wits, or manipulation. And the
Kide,
special.
sorry to cut in. Kide, you keep this stuff rolling, man. I have an emergency bio break.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I got it. Don't worry.
All
So
right.
yeah, if you spend a point of willpower as a Darkling, your character may touch something as substantial and become part of it for 3 turns, like smoke, shadow, or sunbeams, whatever's there. And this ability costs a glamour if anyone's looking directly at you as well. So you can literally, as a Darkling, just touch smoke, and oh, suddenly you're made of smoke, and off you go.
Huh.
Bye.
It's only for a few seconds, but it works.
Yep, it's technically for 9 seconds, but 9 seconds is enough to slip through a door or a crack and be gone. And their curse is whenever a secret or important piece of information that they know turns out to be a lie, they have the possibility of taking clarity damage. Because where changelings differ, and I love this, think of the idea of if you could have humanity and humanity was also a life bar. You could take humanity damage, which could threaten to send you into torpor by just attacking your humanity, and which
Holy
can lower
crap.
or raise. Yeah. And you take certain penalties and conditions depending on how much clarity or humanity damage you have.
Yep. So for changelings, as they lose sanity, they actually start out with a bonus to their perception rolls of
2.
2 dice at full, and then they lose it if they take damage, and then they start taking penalties after they drop below 5 clarity. And then if they take all of their boxes fill up with clarity damage, because they can take major and minor clarity damage. If they fill up completely with either kind, then they fall into a coma. And if they take more clarity damage after that, then they just will never wake up.
Yeah. And can they recover from this?
Yes. Yeah, by spending time with your touchstones or certain contracts, you can recover clarity damage.
Oh, okay. Because the way you put it, that it was like humanity, it was like really hard to recover.
It can be hard to recover, but it is possible.
Oh,
It's just, it takes time and role play. And that's the entire point.
Yeah, and your clarity, I believe, is your wits plus your composure.
Yep, it doesn't start at a base 7 like all the other creatures. It's wits plus composure. So it starts out equal to your willpower.
Okay.
Elementals, self-explanatory. They're beings made of a certain element. And they get an extra dot in resistance, like the beasts. And technically, as long as their character touches or is surrounded by his element of choice, he can use it to make mundane actions at a distance of up to 3 yards away. So he can use fire to light a candle across the room, or use wind to open a window. From across the room. They can also use them for unarmed attacks, but not attacks with weapons. So you can you can literally airbend or firebend unarmed attacks at people. Their curse, however, is they take 30 damage whenever someone browbeats, coerces, or forces them into action against their will.
So basically,
so
like an element they do not like to be
manipulates them.
tamed.
Yep, if someone manipulates them,
Right.
then they take damage to their sanity.
Sounds like a pretty raw deal.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah, it can be with the changelings, and that's the whole thing about the changelings, that everything's a double-edged sword. Do you want to do Fairest?
Sure. So Fairest are they're basically the Prince Charmings or the Rapunzels or the just anything that is beautiful and fair and
White.
yes, but not necessarily with all of the good traits that come with it. They get the additional power attribute, so intelligence, strength,
and
or presence for their free point, and they can spend willpower points on another character's behalf for the purpose of the usual 3 dice bonus or a +2 resistance trait increase. They may only still spend the 1 willpower per action, though. It costs a point of glamour if any condition is in play that would cause contention or mistrust between the characters, such as leveraged or notoriety.
Mm-hmm.
And then their downside is that they take clarity damage whenever their own actions or inactions lead directly to misfortune for their allies.
Okay.
Which, considering that they're often in the leader positions in changeling societies, it'd be a bad leader, and they might lose their sanity a little bit.
Huh.
So they have to make sure that everything goes right, or everything's gonna go to shit in their head as well.
Yep. Or at least find someone else to blame. If they're not at fault, then it's okay. But if they're at fault, it's gonna hurt their sanity. Ogres are brutal creatures. They're like the giants from Jack and the Beanstalk, or again, the ferocious ogres like a Shrek that actually is intimidating. They get an extra free power attribute at character creation. And whenever an ogre deals any damage to another, you get to impose the beaten down tilt, which lasts 3 turns.
So, ogres, an orc would be an ogre.
An orc would be an ogre, yes.
A rock troll would be an ogre.
They have
That
a
too.
cave troll.
They have
Anything
a
that
cave troll.
looks brutish to other changelings would be an ogre.
Yep. And they take clarity damage whenever someone he doesn't consider an enemy flees or cowers from him. So someone who he likes or just an acquaintance, if they're afraid of taking clarity damage.
Or that random stranger that he was trying to help get their kite down from the tree.
Yep.
Oh my goodness! I'm looking at some of the kith for this particular seeming, and they Oni they are basically vampires.
Yeah, the first edition, the way they split up all the kiths to match, they did their absolute best to make sure that they all matched. And
Yep.
they haven't fully incorporated all of the available kiths into second edition yet. That's what the next supplement's coming out is going to be.
Okay.
And finally, the Wizened are like the Rumpelstiltskins or the Old Crone, and they're great at tinkering and crafts, so they get an extra dot in finesse attributes. And your character can take a build equipment action to transform one kind of material into another, as long as they have the appropriate tools to work with what they have. So you can quite literally spin straw into gold with a spinning wheel.
Oh yeah.
That's their ability. They can jury rig things like that. But their curse is they can take damage whenever unpleasant surprise takes them off guard. So they don't like things not going according to plan.
Aha. You don't want. You don't. They don't like it when people come back and come up behind them and poke them.
Nope. Especially if that poking is with a sharp stick or a knife.
Well, that'd be even more of a surprise, I'm thinking.
Or if it causes them to break their current project.
Yep.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I'm looking at Artifice, Animation, and Forge. That's their contracts.
Yep.
That was first edition as well.
In first edition, yeah, they could just forge things and make it was really cool. Now that now the contracts are split up into different what are called regalias, which sort of fall into categories of, if I remember correctly, crown, jewels, mirror, shield, steed, and sword. All very sort of medieval and royalty based.
Well, these guys
Yep,
also
and
seem like dwarves.
Kinda, yeah.
Yep, and but yeah, second edition, rather than having the contracts split up between the seemings like vampire disciplines, any changeling can learn any contract.
Just some seemings have favored regalia over others.
That allows them to purchase those contracts at a discount.
Yep. But nothing's off limits. You can learn anything as long as you have the right XP and a teacher.
Well, the teachers are for the blessings.
Yeah.
Because every contract has 2 blessings one for 2 random seemings. I think every regalia has, all of their contracts have blessings for the favored changeling, and then they'll have a secondary one for one of the others at random. So for there's a contract that allows a changeling to turn into 2 different creatures or 2 different animals of any kind, as long as they have seen what it looks like, but without any of the supernatural benefits. So they could turn into a dragon, but they wouldn't be able to breathe fire. They could fly though.
I love our chat. I do.
Yes.
Onions are like ogres. They have layers.
But so in the case of those 2 blessings, since that falls under the beast's favored, the beast actually gets 2 additional transformations. They can turn into 4 creatures.
Oh.
Total. But an ogre gets a blessing as well, and they can turn into creatures up to size 15, whereas a beast can still only turn into ones of, like, I think size 8 is the max.
Okay, now that's new. That's a new thing that I'm learning new shit. What is this denotation of size? As in, you just mentioned numbers. Well, what do the numbers correspond to?
So, like a size 5 is, of course, a human, and then somebody with a giant mirror is size 6. I think when I looked it up for animal sizes, a polar bear is like size 8. So
Oh,
an ogre could feasibly like turn into a dinosaur.
yeah, pretty much.
Or an elephant, yeah.
A T-Rex, or whatever.
Yeah, and you
Whatever.
literally just have one of your friends just scream, "I'm the motherfucking T-Rex!"
Oh my
But
goodness.
let's say a darkling wanted to learn the ability to turn into a size 15 creature, then they could make a pact with an ogre
Yeah.
to learn that blessing.
See, when they said Darklings, I was thinking of those things from that comic, The Darkness.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, we're gonna go way off topic,
Shoot.
for this one. Did anybody else hear they're gonna do a fourth Matrix movie?
No.
No?
Yeah, there
It's a
are.
product of the God Machine. Don't go see it.
I mean, look, they're dead. Why? How is it? Yeah, and yes, Carrie Ann Moss and Keanu Reeves have signed on for the. I mean, it was confirmed today that
Oh
this
no.
was happening. And it goes into production as soon as he's done with the new Bill and Ted.
Yep.
Oh no.
Yep. My guess is it's some sort of Matrix reboot, and the Matrix is literally rebooted, and they're somehow in it.
Yeah, well,
I mean, after Revolutions, I was pretty much done with that franchise forever.
yeah,
I was
those
going to
that
say, if they
last
don't call
movie
it Matrix
sucked.
rebooted.
Yeah.
I mean, just that the fight scene at the end of that fucking movie sucked.
Oh, it did.
Hmm.
You put it lightly.
Oh, Scott saw it.
Yep.
I was like, oh, jeez. What the fuck, y'all? I mean, do you not have enough money?
Nope, not enough. Okay, let's make
Well,
this last one a bit interesting. Peter, why don't you pick random kiths and ask us about them?
alrighty, I can do that.
Kide, you get on this too if you have a list.
Hell yeah.
Alright, well, we've already covered ogres pretty well. Let's fuck with some wizened. Um, alright, so we've got, here's the time when we pull out the fucking glasses. The kith, a brewer.
That's not in second edition. Let me see if I can find that one real quick.
Apparently, they don't have the second edition shit in the wiki yet. So,
No, I use Codex of Darkness for most of my most of my Chronicles stuff.
I mean, Changeling's never been one of those ones I've ever wanted to play. Really,
I just threw a link if you want a list of them to ask us about in the hangout.
Okay. You make me. What the hell's wrong with you? All right, here we go.
I'm a
I'm gonna
monster.
build mine.
There it is.
All right, Kide, ask yours.
Right, so I went with Beasts because I'm a gangrel at heart. And I was looking at the one, what's it called, Peyote?
The Coyote.
Yes, that.
That one also
was
isn't second edition, but they're literally what they sound like. They're fashioned after the trickster, and so that's what they specialize in.
And as soon as you said coyote, that's what I thought was the whole Nuisha,
Luisha.
a trickster god.
Yep. So let's see. So first edition, their ability was to spend a willpower and gain dice on a persuasion or subterfuge roll, and they'd get a +5 instead of a +3. And then in addition, if the character possessed a gluttony vice, a greed vice, or a lust vice, the character could buy manipulation dots at a reduced experience point rate.
Oh.
Oh, by the way, Peter, if you are on the wiki, scroll down. The second edition overview's near the bottom.
Is it? Well,
Yep, if you want to go back and forth, because we can do first and second. We're here for all the Changeling.
Not true that. I mean, I'm trying to find something really cool here in the second edition shit. Chimera sounds kind of fun.
All right, let me go find that.
That I completely agree with you on because they are neat. They're going to be in the Kith book, I think, because they're not in the main book,
Oh, right,
unfortunately.
yeah, they're not yet.
But
But they were
they're
a popular one, I believe.
yeah. So the basic idea of them is whereas the master couldn't decide if they wanted a dog or a cat or a goldfish, they stitched all three sort of things to you and made you an amalgam of whatever they wanted. And they would change them
Damn.
or add. Like one of them I know from a life play was there's a guy who had fox ears, but then he had scales of a lizard and a scorpion tail.
Yes, more. That's very like the chimera of myth.
Yep,
It
Mhm.
was a lion, a snake,
and a
and a
goat.
ram head, and then the tail of a scorpion, the body of a lion. You know.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh,
They're super cool, and I think they will be coming back once we have the Kith book. But I think they wanted to not put that one in the main book and give a few others some attention.
Well, they also did want to make sure people had the freedom to be creative because that seems to be what they were really going for second edition.
Yeah, because
yeah.
they give you the rules of making your own Kiths if you don't like any in the book.
Like I said, it's freaking page 96. You got
Exactly.
you could if you don't like what the rules are, change the fucking rules.
Mhm.
That's basically how this works. Um,
Yep, and this one is literally do that the book.
okay, let's see. Um, oh, yuck. Oh, that's bad. Leech finger.
Oh, Sumi, you got to take that one.
Leech Finger is one of my personal favorites. So the Leech Finger.
Why
Now,
am
here's
I
the
not
thing to
surprised?
also keep in mind: no single Kith looks the same as each other. That's the fun thing about Changeling is you get to decide what your Changeling looks like underneath their mask. But the Leech Finger has one finger that secretly has a row of teeth, and all they have to do is touch someone. And so long as they maintain physical contact, every 3 seconds, they deal 1 point of bashing and heal 1 point of bashing themselves. And that inevitably ups to lethal and then to aggravated.
Oh, damn, dude.
They will
Damn.
drain the life out of you. All they have to do is touch you. And every 3 seconds, each turn, you take a point of bashing damage.
Kind of like my ex.
Kind
Yeah,
of like,
right?
yep.
The beast.
I'm sorry I stole his joke, but it really sounded like that.
But yeah, no, Leech Fingers, like one of the ones I saw online, someone had designed, was their Leech Finger looked like a spider. So they had 4 spider legs on their back. They had the fangs, and their fingers were long. And one of them, the fingers had the spider fangs, and that's what they would stick into someone to suck out their life force.
Um, let's see. Bryan, he brought one up that he likes. He is very fond of. A Helldiver.
Oh, yeah, I have a Helldiver.
Go, Daria.
So Helldivers are basically a changeling who has been created and they're encouraged early on to try and escape and to get as far away as they can because their keeper has attached a silver thread basically made of their life force to that he holds the end of. And he'll basically continue to do this until they've mastered their abilities of they can basically fade away like they were a ghost and then find entrances into the other realms. And then
Oh,
whenever they've either gotten what he wanted or he's felt like they've been gone long enough,
it's like
he can
shadow
just
walking.
yank, yep, he can just yank them back.
Huh.
And so the only way for them to escape is to eventually find a way to break their thread, which is also always really painful. But
Huh.
they have to spend the glamour and then succeed in a role both to fade out and to fade back in. And they have whatever needs are relevant to whichever realm they're in. So in the spirit realm, they don't get hungry the same way they would in the mortal realm.
Oh.
Because for all intents and purposes in the spirit realm, they're just as the same level of solidness as a spirit in the spirit realm would be.
So right at home. Ow,
Oh,
shit.
all right. All
Yep.
right. What do we got here? Let me check the time. Yep, we got 15 minutes. Um, we're gonna do one more kith, and then we're just gonna bullshit to kind of wind down how we do it. Um,
Yep.
interesting, stuff to.
I
It
have
could be
one.
World of Darkness related. I don't know. Fuck it.
Go, Kide.
Oh,
It's Skitter Skulk. Sounds like it's
oh,
going to be my favorite.
which one?
See, that one is first edition. Let me get there. Skitter
Ah,
Skull.
man.
But that
Oh,
one is good though. The Skitter Skulk was another very popular one, and it was popular for a reason.
Yep. Let's see.
But yeah, that's the one that was calling me home.
Ah, here we go. The Skitter Skulk. It used to be one of the beast seemings. So these were changelings with the affinities of flies, spiders, beetles, centipedes, and other creepy, crawly
ew.
creatures. Yep.
What the hell wrong with you people?
Yep. And their blessing was that their sense of timing and reactions were second to none. When dodging, the character triples their defense rather than doubling.
Oh,
However, their frailty is they fear bright lights, they cannot eat liver, and would do things like they couldn't refuse an offer of alcohol, have to shed their skin on the full moon, things like that. So
Oh.
it was all very gross, and they were looked down upon because they were seen as vermin, both during their durance or their time in Arcadia, and then when they escaped. I mean, people weren't going to treat them very nice.
Nope. So not only did they have to try and fit in normal society under their disguises, they had to then deal with changeling society looking down on them. Probably doubly so, part because they not only were they beasts, but they were creepy crawly.
oh, yeah, right. So okay, um, I want to. Jesus, we've actually had a pretty steady group of folks tonight in the chat. Well, I always love that. Um, I'm assuming since this is Daria's first time, you have a good time.
Yes.
This is what we do. This is bullshitting. We don't. There's no structure. See, you were nervous starting out, but you hung in there like a champ. Good. I'm
Yeah.
more than happy to have you back for something. If you see or I've been getting requests from the guests about shows to do. And we're starting to get to the point where we're going to need some more suggestions here soon. So if you could think of something you like, how about y'all in the chat?
Yeah.
I'm still coughing all that crap up from quitting smoking.
Oh.
So, and I'm happy to see some board loser. Freaking Bryan Scott, I guess you're new, aren't you? And then of course our other standard folks. Of course, New Wave Masquerade. She can't help being here. Uh, she's our producer. She kind of actually has to show up. And of
She
course,
kind of
Scott
does.
Banks.
The
So
man himself.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we've had some other folks. Now, the thing is, I noticed how many people. I noticed this last time when we did that. That requested show from Ian about guru politics. We
Mm-hmm.
had like one person in the channel who actually interacted, but there were six in listing. Kind of like it is right now. Um, I'm wondering, if the Mind's Eye Society is still pissed off. If they are, fuck them. I got no interest. Seriously, y'all. If you are still a member of this group, it would not hurt you to find someplace else. And like I said, I've mentioned Matt Webb. He runs some good games. He runs some really good games. And New Wave wants to load up a freaking road trip and go. for the Camarilla game. I said, let's do that. I get to drive. I love road
Man, I
trips,
wish I
man.
could.
I love road trips. I think they're about the third coolest thing ever. Don't ask what the other two are.
I wasn't going to.
So, um, and of course, Daria, happy to have you, sweetie. You've been wonderful. You're a font of knowledge as far as changeling. Are you just as knowledgeable with the dreaming as well, or
No, I'm still trying to get into the old World of Darkness stuff. I've just been kind of throwing myself into Changeling because after my first vampire game, Sumi let us just take. He was like, "Okay, here's the splats, go for it," and Changeling just snagged me.
just spoke to you?
Yep,
Mm.
I have like 6 different Changeling templates, of
Uh,
which 2 of them are currently in use.
cool.
So it looks like Adam Freely would like us to talk about the spring court closing out.
Oh, well, yeah, go ahead if you'd like. I mean,
The
we've
sex
only
court.
got about 9 minutes, so
We can talk about the spring court in 9 minutes.
all
So
right.
the duality of the spring court is desire and denial. So when Daria says the sex court, yeah, they're the sex court. It's all courtly love. It's all about springtime, fertility, love, blossoming. And what's really interesting is if the spring court has power in a city, they can actually have the power to make it that people can't enact violence on another person unless it's an act of passion. So
At
What?
least within Changeling and Fae society.
within Changeling and Face
Oh.
Society, so changelings can't assassinate someone, but they can murder someone in an act of passion, and the true Fae can't attack someone in the city unless it's an act of passion. But the true Fae don't understand emotions; they don't understand passion, so it kind of gridlocks them into being rather unable to act during springtime.
Death
And
by
that's
snoo snoo.
death by snoo snoo.
Yep.
The spring court is that court where everyone does underestimate them, but they have some amazing power. The elemental spring court, the emerald court, as they're called, when they're in session, because during the springtime of the year, this court is supposed to rule if there's the seasonal courts in a city. So they hold extravagant balls. There's festivals, maybe the occasional orgy, and
Because it's all about celebrating spring, but it's also their court is all about basically just enjoying life to the fullest while you still can.
denying the things that you don't bring you joy. You ignore them. You deny them. You go, nope, I'm not dealing with you. I'll fuck off till summer. Bye.
Oh, I forgot to give Adam a shout out, man. I'm happy to have you here, even though he, as he says, he's at work and on the other side of the fucking planet. So, so we're always happy to have you here, Adam. You're fun. You actually ask really good questions too. We appreciate that.
And
Um,
yeah, New Wave, you would like the Court of Fear. You really would.
Yes. Autumn court.
yeah, that's
Autumn
that's
Court.
that's New Wave. She likes that one. The Autumn
Oh
Court.
yeah, the Autumn Court's fun because their thing is they go knocking door to door, going, "Hi, we're the Autumn Court Inquisition. I mean census. Let us in and see how many contracts and magical items you have. You're allowed to say no to this Inquisition, mind you, but they remember if you say no."
And nothing necessarily bad will happen to you if you end up needing help. Then they'll be like, well, you didn't give us information, so how can we help you without the right information?
Bring out the comfy
Oh.
chair.
Bring out the comfy chair.
But if you gave
But yeah,
if you gave them the information they wanted and you come up and you need help and they'll go, okay, so let me pull out your file. No, here's the answer to what you need.
yep. They are the information keepers and spies, and their entire thing is they rule by the emotion of fear. I mean, autumn is the time of Halloween. It's all about fear and dread and the idea of bargaining. That's the autumn court when they're in charge. And it's
All Hallows
very,
Eve.
Very interesting. It's very fun. And their contracts revolve around terrifying people and manipulating people's fears and drawing them out and being like, oh, look, I'm suddenly your phobia. Boo.
Oh, not good.
Damn, sounds like something I would like to do.
Autumn Court, summer. My other favorites are all the courts are good. No court is bad in Changeling. The Summer Court is the court of war. They're the one court who goes, oh yeah, we'll use cold iron cages to hold our prisoners. Shut up.
Oh,
We'll use cold iron spears against our enemies. Shut up. We are summer. We are the court of war. We
And when
don't.
they're in, and when they're in charge, if a fight starts, then neither side can retreat until it's done.
Yep, it is fight to the death or KO when summer's in charge. Don't start nothing.
whatever it
There
takes.
won't be nothing.
Yeah, right.
And don't let nobody start
none,
nothing.
won't be none.
Said if you weren't planning on starting anything, you better make sure they don't start it first.
Yep.
Right.
Otherwise, it's once someone throws down the gauntlet is down, and it's not going to be over till one of you is not moving.
What about the winter
So never
court?
start something you can
Oh.
finish.
The winter court
Right.
is sorrow. They feed off of depression and despair. So they are almost quiet all year round. And then when they're in charge, technically, all the other changelings follow suit. You don't know they're a changeling in a city during winter. They all go underground. The winter court is very much about hiding their secret markets and secret festivals, but they're not out in the open. They're hidden. They're in places that are tucked away, ticketed events behind gilded walls.
Oh, like that place in Hellboy 2, under
Yep.
the bridge.
Under the bridge. And their powers literally can just one of their royal contracts is you look at someone and go, I'm going to take away all your happy emotions for about a week to a month. You feel nothing. Have fun with that.
That's not-
Bye now.
That's so
Yep,
not-
winter is sorrow and enduring.
Yep, sorrow and depression, because there's a fine line between enacting sorrow and just feeling it, and then allowing it to drag you down.
Yeah,
And-
see, even
Right.
New Wave, she was thinking about the troll market.
But no, winter is the silent arrow. They're also great assassins. They will just come out of nowhere and kill you silently, and then they are gone.
Oh, like the Assamites.
Like the Assamites. They're very much like the court of the Assamites.
Amusingly, though, in first edition, the winter court was actually the court most likely to take in newly escaped changelings. They weren't required to stay in the court or even join it, but they would take them in, give them shelter, and help them start to acclimate so that they could then decide where they wanted to go from there.
It's true. And in second edition, it's still very similar. The Winter Court is always watching for people slipping out from the hedge, escaping Arcadia, and they swoop in, grab them up, and take them somewhere safe.
Oh,
That's nice.
Which is why they're also the enduring court. They're the ones that are kind of silently looking out for everyone's best interests.
oh, okay, that's kind of hip. All right, we're at the end of the show. We got 1 minute left, and so again, I want to thank our guests. Daria, you've been fun. I appreciate you being here.
No.
Thomas, you're always fun.
It's
happy
always fun to
help.
be here.
I know, right?
Yep, I'll definitely continue to be here at least in the audience.
Yeah, well, no, shit. If we can, what else are you conversant in, other than changeling?
Mostly Requiem.
Okay, we've done a Requiem show, but it's been a while. We might have to stick another one in the rotation.
Ooh, we could do a show entirely based on us trying to sell Requiem to Key Day. That'd be fun.
No.
I was going to say my area of expertise in Requiem is actually ghouls.
Oh my goodness, they're fun. I love ghouls.
I do
they are.
currently have a ghoul too.
Kide, I'm gonna be honest. You couldn't get me to play Requiem either, but the I don't want to say that as an absolute, because when I first started doing this show, our first show was with a couple of Brazilian werewolves who talked me into, yeah, I'd play werewolf now. I would not, I wouldn't turn it down because it sounds like a lot of fun. It really didn't, it didn't speak to me without Matt and Pedro describing their passion for that particular game. And I was like, I can actually play this. This might be fun. So, anywho,
My thing is that everything that's old World of Darkness, I've always been into. So I will throw down on anything old World of Darkness, but everything from the new one, it's been kind of like in my opinion. Except the Promethean one. Now that I've heard all this, now I want to. Well, I'm not gonna play it in itself, but I'm very willing to use it in a crossover with my vampire players or even werewolf.
now we've had a request. I don't know that we've touched on it, but I've never actually we haven't done a show about it. And the God Machine sounds like something we could get into.
Oh, ooh, do sue me for
Ooh.
God Machine.
Okay, you're signed on. You have now committed yourself. I'm sorry to tell you, but
Sumi made an entire game where he basically gave supernatural splats God Machine powers, just happenstance.
Totally. I want to learn more about that.
Of
okay.
course, I'm willing to come back for that one. God Machine is my jam.
Is it?
Yeah,
God
Changeling is
Machine
my jam.
Chronicles.
God Machine is his.
Well, I guess at least we're gonna have fucking New Wave and Adam both. It looks like they will be here for that show. And
I
New
will be.
Wave, I doubt that's gonna happen. But there's no saying. I'm not gonna say. Like I said, I'm not gonna do any absolutes. It just would not be prudent.
Right.
The last one makes what is the quote? The last one makes declarative statements. Uh, the less apt he is to look foolish in retrospect.
Fair.
Sure.
I love that saying.
So, all right, guys. Everybody, say goodnight.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
night.
Good night, people.
And good night, y'all.